What is up, XRP community? Welcome back to another video. Thank you for joining me and thank you for the support on the channel. Welcome all the new subscribers. I want to talk about why these ETFs are such a big deal, an XRP ETF, and then some official documents from a peer-reviewed journal and also the Bank of England. Earlier this morning, the US inflation numbers came out, but you guys have to take these with a grain of salt. I don't know if you guys know, but before the COVID-19 thing that I can't talk about because of censorship, in 2020 when the economy was going haywire, they redefined what a recession is. A recession is basically how many quarters of a certain amount of GDP growth, and they changed the definition of a recession. They also changed the CPI, the Consumer Price Index. This is what determines inflation numbers. And the Consumer Price Index basically takes a basket of goods. So you have like oil, consumer products, all these different types of goods, and each one of them has a certain weight. So certain goods weigh on inflation more than other goods, and they changed the weights of all of those, the CPI, back in 2020. So whenever I see these official numbers and I see people talking about Bidenomics, I don't really trust these official numbers because you don't really know what they're doing behind the scenes. However, U.S. inflation rises to 3.4%, higher than expectations. And what a joke the World Economic Forum is. This came out, their 10 most important priorities for the next 2 years. And look at what is number one. I'm not going to talk about this because, once again, I do kind of fear the censorship. But out of everything going on in the world, misinformation and disinformation are the top global risks. They want to tell you what to believe, so pat yourselves on the back. If you guys are in the XRP community, you most likely think for yourself, and that's a quality that my generation has really lost sight of. A quick update on the lawsuit with Ripple and the SEC. This came out 2 hours ago from James Hyland. The SEC has filed a motion to compel Ripple to produce its financial statements for the years 2022 and 2023 and its post-complaint contracts governing institutional sales. So the light is at the end of the tunnel. XRP is not a security, but this lawsuit is ongoing still, and so we'll have to see where that goes. Really quick, if you guys want $41 for free, sign up with Webull, deposit 1 penny. You can get up to $25,000 in free stocks, but typically you just get $40 to $300. But you're guaranteed $41 in free stock shares just for depositing a penny. Sell your stocks, close your accounts, do whatever you want. You can find a link to Webull in the video description below. And yesterday, the Bitcoin ETFs went live. We all know that. Trading volume surpassed 1.6 billion. It's now at about 3 billion, I believe. And it's good to see that adoption. Over the next year, going into 2025, we're going to see tens of billions flowing through these ETFs. But why are these Bitcoin ETFs such a big deal? This is one that's going to go gangbusters. Jim Want, a well-known figure in the ETF space, when speaking about gold ETFs back in 2004, he was right. Over 100 billion is now stashed in gold ETFs that trade in the US, the world's largest capital markets. Gold soared after the gold ETFs were introduced 2 decades ago. Standard Chartered, the global bank, views this as relevant history for Bitcoin ETFs. Gold's price more than quadrupled in the 7 years following their 2004 introduction in the US. We expect Bitcoin to enjoy price gains of a similar magnitude as a result of the US spot ETF approval, but we see these gains materializing over a shorter 1 to 2 year period. Given our view that the Bitcoin ETF market will develop more quickly, the firm sees Bitcoin rising to 100K by the end of this year, a very, very realistic price guesstimate, considering that in April of this year, in 3 months, we have the next Bitcoin halving, which typically ignites very good price action for Bitcoin. And Kathy Woods claims that Bitcoin could reach 1.5 million by 2030. Not only her, she says, we think the profitability of the bull case has increased with this SEC approval. This is a green light. And Vanguard and a bunch of other banks, not just Vanguard, but Citibank, Merrill Lynch, and Edward Jones have blocked their clients from buying Bitcoin ETFs. A Vanguard spokesperson told CoinDesk that spot Bitcoin ETFs will not be available for purchase. The spokesperson said the reason behind this decision is that crypto-related products do not align with the asset manager's focus on asset classes that build blocks of a well-balanced long-term investment portfolio. You want to talk about well-balanced, why not allocate even just a small percent of your portfolio to this emerging asset class? Yes, cryptocurrency is volatile, but volatility is the price you pay for the highest appreciating asset class in the history of the world. Bitcoin went from under a penny to $69,000, a 6 million X return. You don't find that anywhere else in this world. I think it's kind of ironic that they called it a well-balanced investment portfolio, more like a low-risk investment portfolio. And here's another mention of Ripple ETFs on Bloomberg's just now. Take a listen.
Also remember, something to watch tomorrow. These questions will start pouring in. First, is Grayscale and the other crypto-focused issuers going to start looking at other crypto assets? Ethereum, Valkyrie had said people are looking at Ripple ETFs already, for example.
So we have lots of speculation about Ethereum ETFs. They've already been filed, and there's no reason that I can see why these ETFs for Ethereum will not be approved. And then once those are approved, you have to look at the next most legitimate cryptocurrency, something like XRP. Unlike Ethereum and Bitcoin, it has more regulatory clarity in the SEC. Who's saying the SEC doesn't go after Ethereum in the future? And Ripple's already over that hump. Chad Steingraber with another good tweet. Take a listen to this. This just came out on CNBC.
And Bitcoin ETF?
So let me change that topic. Let's talk about Bitcoin ETF for a minute. I think we've missed a really important component, the whole approval process of Bitcoin and Bitcoin ETF.
Which is?
What's really behind approving a Bitcoin ETF that made it so interesting? Bitcoin is traded in the blockchain and settles real time. Everything traded on an exchange in the United States is traded and settles T+2.
Yeah.
We now have introduced real-time settlement into the exchange system in the United States. That is a big move, and I think that's something that the SEC was having to deal with in approving Bitcoin. So now you've got an ETF that the underlying trades real-time and settles real-time.
Talking about real-time settlement, which is a little bit misleading because with Bitcoin, it's not actually real-time settlement. But he goes on in the rest of this clip to talk about real-time settlement being the holy grail. And then you look at something like XRP, which is actually way more close to real-time settlement than something like Bitcoin. And it just feels like this year is the year where we'll see an XRP ETF. Two documents really quick right here. Bank of England talking about Ripple for cross-border payments. In the section cross-border synchronization, they say, a joint project with Ripple demonstrating that synchronized foreign exchange transactions in two different simulated real-time gross settlement systems can be achieved, leading to the incorporation of synchronization functionality into the roadmap for real-time gross settlement renewal. This is just one of the many partnerships that Ripple has. And something interesting, if you look up the logo for Ripple, the logo is that X, or for XRP, it's the X. Look up the logo for Flare, and Flare is the protocol that enables smart contracts on the XRP ledger. And the logo for Flare is F. What is the acronym for foreign exchange markets? FX. Put the logo of Flare and the logo of XRP, it's FX. So that's just kind of something interesting. This guy says Bitcoin is the distraction. The decline of cash usage as a medium of exchange is a societal transformation occurring worldwide. They will not use Bitcoin for cross-border payments. I agree. So this is from the Royal United Services Institute in the UK, and it's titled Central Bank Digital Currencies and National Security Policy Considerations. They talk about society transitioning away from cash. The steady decline in cash usage has resulted in some nations deliberating over viable alternatives amid a banking crisis or a serious power outage. Thus, more than 100 countries are exploring central bank digital currencies in varying capacities. And they go on to say this transition has been spurred on by a range of factors, including the rise of e-money, the increased use of debit cards, contactless payment, e-commerce, and the emergence of peer-to-peer digital exchange mediums such as Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin, just look at the Genesis block of Bitcoin. The first block on the Bitcoin blockchain, the hidden message, They took a headline and it says UK Chancellor votes on second bailout for banks. In the inception of Bitcoin, that was the message they gave. I think Bitcoin was brought to issue in this new digital future of the digital assets. Unfortunately, for a lot of reasons, Bitcoin's been co-opted and it's not scalable to be peer-to-peer digital exchange. XRP is. I see Bitcoin as opening up the floodgates, and I see XRP as the one that's actually going to win. Keep in mind, in the dot-com bubble, everyone thought Yahoo was a massive winner, Yahoo and Ask.com. These companies may still be around today, but the real winners came later in the race. They weren't the first internet companies, the Microsofts, the Googles, the Apples. Fast forward to now, Bitcoin leads the whole market, but in the future, I think we could see a market where Bitcoin is not the biggest crypto asset because it really has no use case. Bitcoin maximalists will tell you otherwise, but the cryptocurrencies that are going to be here for your grandkids and my grandkids and your great-grandkids, it's not going to be Bitcoin in my opinion. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great week and God bless you all. Until next time.